God dag allesammen. Good day, everyone. My name is Lynn Wilson. I'm a business development manager for Hurtigruten, and today we are going to cover the original Norwegian coastal voyages, aka the original Coastal Express, aka the classic voyages. So we are just going to go through a nice day-by-day overview here. So the Coastal Express is a route that was founded in 1893 and has been expanded upon over the years. We are considered to be an absolute lifeline to the Norwegian coast, given that 2/3 of our country is mountainous, and we have a record-breaking number of fjords to the tune of 1,700. So as we go through here, you might wonder what is life like on board. So that is what we are here to discover. First things first, what are the classic voyages? When you are looking at this route, again, if you hear to it referred to as the mail route or the classic route or the original route, just think of this map. It starts in Bergen, Norway's second largest city, and goes all the way up here to Kirkenes, which is a small regional town. There are 34 ports of call along the way. And within this route, we have 4 classic voyages. The first one would be the round trip, Bergen, Kirkenes, back down to Bergen. That is 12 days. You hit 34 ports of call sailing north, and you'll hit 33 of those ports of call sailing south. You might have the question, why should I opt for the round trip voyage? Generally speaking, if you pass ports at night sailing north, the general rule of thumb is that you would hit those ports during the daytime sailing south. So if you are opting for that round trip, Bergen, Kirkenes, Bergen, it will afford you the highest number of ports during daytime. You could also opt for the classic voyage of discovery, which is Bergen, Kirkenes, and would end in Trondheim. This is Norway's 3rd largest city, and this is an 11-day voyage. So let's say maybe you wanted to explore some elements of Norway via land. Maybe you want to fly into Oslo, take the train to Bergen, sail 11 days, see the vast majority of our coastline, debark in Trondheim, maybe spend a few days there, and then hop on the Dovre rail back to Oslo. Certainly an opportunity. And if 11 and 12 days is simply too long a time to be away, you can also opt for shorter stints. You can do the classic voyage north, 7 days Bergen Kirkenes, or 6 days classic voyage south, Kirkenes to Bergen. If you're looking for something closer in, we also have port-to-port voyages. So you can actually book any stretch of the way. The port-to-port voyages do open closer to departure. So we're just going to provide a quick day-by-day overview along with the times in ports. So all of our voyages here will start in Bergen. We have the Hurtigruten terminal here. This is a big hub for Hurtigruten. Bergen is Norway's 2nd largest city. And it's a beautiful city. So even before you set foot on our ships, there is a UNESCO World Heritage Site called Brygga. Here in the region, you also have the fish markets. It's surrounded by fjords. It's a really beautiful city to start your adventure in. On day 2, we're going to call upon a beautiful city called Ålesund, and you're going to notice that unique architectural design here, Art Nouveau style. In 1904, there was a bad fire that decimated large swaths of the city. So when they rebuilt, they opted to rebuild in Art Nouveau style. The city is also surrounded by fjords. You'll find the Geirangerfjord that jumps off from Ålesund, as well as the Fjord. So the length of time in port here, you'll see is season dependent. But generally speaking, as you traverse the route, you'll have 1 port per day where you'll have a few hours to go explore. Ålesund is season dependent, so outside of summer and fall, you will have a few hours in Ålesund. But if you are sailing during summer, between June and August, we instead cut that stay short so that we can deviate into the UNESCO listed fjord called the Geirangerfjord. So depending on time of year, you can see the Seven Sisters waterfalls, usually most prevalent in June as the snow is melting from the mountains, but very impressive fjord. And as we go through these ports, you're going to start to see a list of excursions. You do need to note that not all excursions are available year round. So a lot of our excursions are season dependent. So when you see this list, this is just what is possible throughout the course of a year. So what you need to do is utilize our website and then just filter based on season, and the applicable excursions will pop up. So day 2 northbound, we will have the Geirangerfjord as a highlight during summer. And then in September and October, we do deviate into an adjacent fjord called the Jørenfjord. So this is overlooked by the Sunnmøre Alps. You can see peaks as high as 1,300 meters. This is really a hidden gem that's not often visited by others. And you can find 1,000-year-old small farms and communities in this region, one of which would be Urke, with a whopping 40 inhabitants, I think. Day 3, the highlight will be Trondheim. So this is Norway's 3rd largest city, founded in 997 AD by the Viking king Olav Tryggvason. You'll see this Gothic style cathedral here. He is buried under that cathedral to this day, and the crown princess Martha was married here at this cathedral. This is a beautiful city. Again, Norway's 3rd largest. It is boasting of a lively waterfront. It has a buzzing student population. So you'll have loads of cafes, restaurants, and bars. So it's a really happening city in Norway. Day 4, the time in port will be Bodø. And again, you'll see how we're making these frequent stops. And I'll pause here to just let you know that we are a very important lifeline to the Norwegian coast. Our ships carry the equivalent of 10,000 trucks worth of cargo each year. So we do provision these coastal communities with vital supplies. It's part of who we are and why we operate as a company. But you'll see here, Bodø, again, we'll have a few hours. So it is also a leisurely experience, and you'll see the list of excursions you can participate in here. Bodø is northern Norway's 2nd largest city. So you'll have the spectacular Børvass peaks. It's a chain of mountains that dominates the views of the area. So, or maybe you want to see some street art or architectural gems, Kulturkvartalet Stormen, with a modern library, or maybe you want to join an optional excursion to Saltstraumen, which is the world's strongest whirlpool. We are setting our sights on Lofoten on day 4 as well, which is one of the most scenic areas in all of Norway. This region is also rich in bird life, over 250 species recorded. Seals, orca can often also be spotted in the fjords. And then really impressive, something that you will encounter as you sail north, is the Lofotveggen. This is the Lofoten Wall. It's about 100 kilometers long, up to 1,000 meters high. The wall is a string of islands that are packed tightly together, and they're notable for their spectacular jagged granite peaks. Day 5, you will sail into the Paris of the North. You'll have about 4 hours to explore here. It's a fun theory about how this city came to be known as the Paris of the North, and it's linked to the history as a starting and end point of past polar expeditions. So when you had those weary Arctic explorers returning to civilization, the fashion, the food, the culture of Tromsø was such a sight for sore eyes that they started comparing it to Paris, France. At least that's what we think is the origin, but whatever the origin, the nickname has stuck, and it is now a reputation to aspire to. So Tromsø is northern Norway's largest city, just shy of about 80,000 inhabitants, lots of restaurants, lots of bars in the region. You'll have Polaria, which is the world's northernmost aquarium. You can walk to the city center, check out the shops and restaurants. You can find Mack Brewery in this region, and a favorite local watering hole called Ølhallen Pub, which is the beer hall pub. So no shortage of activities in this region. In the winter, also very well known for dog sledding. Honningsvåg is the jump-off point for the North Cape, and the North Cape is considered to be one of the northernmost points of mainland Europe. So this is an absolute bucket list destination. We'll arrive in Honningsvåg around mid-morning, and you will have an optional excursion opportunity to go to the North Cape. If you opt to stay in Honningsvåg, the fishing village itself, you will find the North Cape Museum. You can learn more about the Cape and the area's coastal culture. And 10 minutes away from the museum, you'll find the Honningsvåg Church from 1885, which is the oldest building in the area. Honningsvåg is also known for rich bird life and lots of Sami culture. Day 7 marks the turning point. So this is as far as we'll go on the northbound leg. So if you saw the classic voyage north, by again to Kirkenes, we will have guests debarking. We will also have other guests embarking in Kirkenes to set sail down to Bergen, and whoever is on the round trip or the classic voyage of discovery will simply stay on, and you'll see that you have about 3.5 hours in port here. This is the turning point, as I said, but it's a great winter destination. So once again, you're going to have the dog sledding. This image here is of the Kirkenes Snow Hotel, and you'll see in the background, you have gamma cabins. So this is a very popular place to visit for the bucket list snow hotel, also for Northern Lights and dog sledding in this region. As we set our sights southbound, we set our sights towards Hammerfest, but before we even get there, check this out, snowmobile trip into the polar night. So between Mehamn and Kjøllefjord in the winter months, you can actually take a dual port excursion from Mehamn to Kjøllefjord in the middle of the night and hunt the northern lights. Once you get to Hammerfest, check out the UNESCO listed meridian column in Hammerfest. It is the northernmost measuring point of the Struve geodactic arc, a chain of survey triangulations for geographic meridians that establish the exact size and shape of the planet. So plotted by astronomer Friedrich Struve between 1816 and 1855, the arc stretches over 2,800 kilometers through a total of 10 countries from Hammerfest to the Black Sea. Day 9, you will once again embark upon your journey to Lofoten. This is a beautiful archipelago, one of the most scenic areas of all of Norway, and you'll see that we'll have a few hours, or not as many hours here in port on the southbound leg, but Svolvær will have a couple of hours. Stokmarknes is one of the stops on day 9. This is home to our birthplace. So this is where it all began back in 1893. And this structure that you see here is actually the Hurtigruten Museum, and it houses a decommissioned vessel, the MS Finnmarken, from 1956. So you'll have a few optional excursions throughout day 9. Again, make sure that you are checking according to season. And in the evening, you'll spend a couple hours here in Svolvær, and this is known to be the beating heart of the Lofoten archipelago. Lots of artists flock to this region. One of our astronomers, Tom Kurz, calls this lucky Svolvær because it's a really great place to see the northern lights. So again, cannot go wrong with Svolvær. Enjoy your time here. Depending on the season, we do have other deviations into fjords, and one of those fjords would be the Trollfjord. And immediately you can see how narrow this fjord is, and you can see these vertical mountains just shooting out of the fjord. At its most narrow point, it is less than 100 meters wide. We do generally need the right conditions to deviate into the Trollfjord, so ample daylight is never a bad thing. So anytime between May and October, we always make attempts to deviate into the Trollfjord. But as it gets darker, we might just shine a light on the entrance to the fjord. And we also have to make sure that there's no mudslide dangers or what have you. So the conditions do have to be ripe to deviate into the fjord. But if we can do it, it is a magical experience. Day 10 is the Helgeland coast, so the glorious landscapes of this coast. You're going to pass scary small islands interspersed with charming fishing villages. You're also going to pass the Seven Sisters mountain range, which is said to be a legendary troll princesses that were turned to stone. Just after breakfast, you will cross the Arctic Circle, and you will have an Arctic Circle crossing ceremony. And later on, you will visit the fishing village of Brønnøysund. So it's arguably most known for this mountain here, the Torghatten Mountain, that has that wonky hole in the middle there. And according to Norwegian folktale, this mountain or this hole was formed when the troll Hestemannen, he was spurned by a young woman, Lekamøya. He shot an arrow at her, and the troll king of Sømna threw his hat in between the path of the arrow to protect her. At that moment, Dawn turned everything to stone, leaving behind the former hut as a mountain with the arrow hole through its center. So you'll get to Brunnes in around mid-afternoon. You'll have a couple hours here to explore the fishing village here, rich in maritime history. The town's name actually comes from Old Norse Brunne or Brunnur, which means a well. So that indicates that seafarers knew that they would find fresh water here. Day 11, you will once again call upon Trondheim in the early morning hours. So you can visit the landmarks such as the Nidaros Cathedral. The image here is taken of Gammelbrua, and then the area on the other side of this bridge is called Bakklandet. So here you can get a quality coffee or a Nordic patisserie in one of the Bakklandet district's many chic cafes. Again, this is a really hopping city. And as you leave Trondheim in the morning, you're going to pass the tiny island of Munkholmen. So this is a site of a former fort, prison, execution site, and German submarine base during World War II. Now the island just serves as a popular recreational area and with a lovely beach and a restaurant. Day 12, but again, we must bid you adieu. This means that your voyage has now come to a close, and I hope you did enjoy this day-by-day overview. Let's set our sights on some of the excursions. Anything off-ship will carry an additional charge, and we do have over 70 optional excursions to choose between. So you can see the full list here, day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, and once again, you always have to check based on season. So make sure that you are talking to your travel advisor about which excursions are available, and also that you are researching on our website. So all of our itinerary landing pages, if you scroll down, you will have the opportunity to also look up the excursions there. The excursions are listed level 1 through 4. So every single excursion has its own landing page. Level 1, suitable for most guests. Level 2, some mobility needed. Level 3, it's active. We do recommend good mobility, and challenging good mobility and fitness is required. So make sure that whenever you are looking at the excursions, look at the level and just make the decisions that make the most sense for you. So a few sample excursions. Day 9, sea eagle safari. There's loads of sea eagles in the Lofoten archipelago, so you can have an opportunity to spot these birds up close. Also in Lofoten is Lofoten by horse. In the southern regions, Kristiansund and Molde of Vestlandet, you can explore the engineering feat of the century, which is this stretch of road that stretches across skerries and islets and such. It's very visually impressive, and you will have a guided tour along the way. In the winter, why not try your hand at snowshoeing or dog sledding? You have 2 opportunities for dog sledding. One is on day 5 in Tromsø, one is on day 7 in Kirkenes. I already mentioned the polar night snowmobiling for the winter months to chase the northern lights. Or maybe you want to visit the Gothic cathedral, the Nidaros Cathedral. Farm visits, Sami culture. Also, we love friluftsliv, which means great or outdoor living, if you will. So we love hikes. So make sure that you are asking about hiking opportunities. As long as the conditions are favorable and safe, we will offer up optional excursions that you can book on board. So running this classic route that we just discussed is 6 ships: Nord-Norge, Nordkapp, Polarlys, Nordlys, Richard Hvitt, and Kong Harald. They are all fully refurbished in 2016 or later. They are all great options. They are refurbished in the same way. They have the same food concept on board. And this basically ensures that we have 6 ships operating this itinerary year round. So it does not matter whatever week you look up on our website, there will be multiple departures. So again, this is the itinerary that we run with the highest frequency of departures. Life on board. I think it's important to note that we are not like your traditional big cruise line. We're much smaller. You could probably fit our entire fleet into one big white ship, but it's also a tranquil experience. So if you sail the Norwegian coast with Hurtigruten, it is the most authentic way to explore Norway. You will be traveling like a local, and it's a tranquil experience. So instead of the late night casinos and discotheques, you might find people knitting and crocheting and playing backgammon or cribbage on board. So it is almost like a forced relaxation that may or may not be intuitive to the North American guest, but it is a welcomed shift. You know, allow yourself the time to just let the day come to you, let life happen. And I think this is a Norwegian way of living in general. There's way less stress in Norway. So it is a quiet, tranquil experience. All of our ships have these 180-degree panorama lounges. We hug the ship for a large majority of the way. So you will have ample land views all throughout your voyage. This is also meant to be your home away from home. So as you are looking at this itinerary, make sure that you think of your stateroom as your bedroom, the panorama lounge as your living room, and the restaurants as your kitchen. There's no dress code on board. We don't care what you wear. The experience, it's meant to be experiential. You're meant to dress for the elements, and we want you to be comfortable. So wear whatever you want to wear. Bring whatever pastime hobbies you want to bring, whether that be cards, crocheting materials, knitting materials. Just treat this as your base camp at sea. We will entertain you, but we are going to entertain you through education. So we will have we do have lecture programs on all of our ships. And when we pass areas of historical and cultural significance, we also invite all of our guests out on deck for points of interest. One of the most magical elements of the classic route is the ability to travel like a local. So you do have the opportunity to see how we're still an absolute lifeline to the Norwegian coast. Even now, 130 years later, you can see these family reunions taking place in port. You might see a full soccer team pop on board for a couple hours as they're still utilizing our services to get to their soccer tournament in the neighboring town. We still have 1,700 fjords where it's still a bit logistically challenging to get from point A to point B. So Hurtigruten is still the fastest route all these years later. We have an amazing concept on board called Norway's Coastal Kitchen. So this is basically where we source 80% of our food locally. We aim to provide a regenerative experience. It's very important for us to contract directly with these local suppliers. It's also a sustainable intent because that's fewer transportation miles, less storage energy, and all of this translates to a culinary experience for you. When you sail the Norwegian coast with Hurtigruten, you will not just see the coast, you will also taste the coast. Torget will be the main restaurant on board. This means marketplace in Norwegian. So this is where breakfast, lunch, and dinner is served, included for all guests on the classic voyages here. Breakfast and lunch will generally speaking be buffet format, and dinner is generally speaking a seated affair, and you can choose your preferred dining time. Optional upgrade would be brygga. This means wharf in Norwegian. So this is where you can get some comfort foods, traditional Nordic dishes alongside fresh salads, sandwiches, wraps, and the comfort foods again, like freshly prepared pizzas or gastro burgers. You can also upgrade to Kysten, which is our fine dining a la carte restaurant. So have a nice, exquisite 5-course meal here, have freshly caught seafood, free-range meats, and award-winning cheeses. We love our sweets in Norway, so we also have an onboard bakery where you can get the waffles, pastries, sandwiches that we call smørbrød. Maybe you want some smoothies, some coffees, and of course, a range of ice creams. You won't just taste the coast in your meals, but also in the drinks. We have breweries that brew IPAs only for Hurtigruten. We have distilleries that make premium Arctic gin and premium Arctic akvavit only for Hurtigruten. We have really cool collaborations where we age sparkling wine underwater in fjords for 6 months on end. I would welcome you to look up Bubbles of the Sea or Havets Bobbred, so you can have a taste of that on board as well. So have a nice Nordic signature cocktail in the Explorer Lounge with the 180-degree views, and just strike up a chat with your fellow travelers in this lounge. I'll just touch quickly on the staterooms and suites. So we do have the well-appointed suites on board. Some have the floor to ceiling bay windows. Other suites are 2-room suites, and we also have an array of mini suites ranged from 2 to 4 guests. And then we have a wide variety of other stateroom options, ocean view as well as interior. So final here is what is included. So when you book the classic route, by that I mean Bergen, Kirkenes, Bergen, 12 days, Bergen, Kirkenes, Trondheim, 11 days, Bergen, Kirkenes, 7 days, or Kirkenes, Bergen, 6 days. Choice of cabin grade, cabin number, full board, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You can choose your preferred dining time for dinner. Please communicate that at the time of booking so we can add notes. Complimentary coffee and tea throughout your voyage, complimentary Wi-Fi. So if you're tuning in and you are a remote worker, why not work from our ships and take in the beautiful landscape of Norway along the way? All of the ship facilities, activities will have a 3-person coastal experience team. And the price you see online, that is the price you get. That does include port charges, taxes, and fees. And finally, it's not really the Norwegian way to tip, so gratuities are not expected.